All right, we are recording now. Everything's good.
Good afternoon, Bernadette.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hello,
Fine, and
Bernadette.
you?
Hayward, it's 14 hours and 7 minutes. I think maybe we should just start. Uh, is that okay? Can we start our first language lesson of the year? Yep.
Yeah, people can join us in the
Mm-hmm.
middle.
All right. So first, I would like to welcome each and every one of you. This is our first encounter, which was supposed to happen a week ago, but regardless, we are having it today. This is the first sorry, the first language lesson that is going to be held by EDUCONLE this year after all the situations that we have to go through the pandemic and all that. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself to everyone here. I'm sure everyone here knows each other, but me and Tiago, we're new. We just started working here. So my name is Lucas Lopez. I'm currently an undergraduate student from UFMG. I'm studying Letras, Licenciatura in in English, and I've been honored to be selected here to work with the next Educonle and Concol for this extension program that has been helping many teachers throughout its quite half the history, more than 20 years of programs working here at UFMG. So, Thiago,
Hello, everyone. I'm Thiago Barbosa. I'm also an undergrad student at UFMG. I'm also studying English. I'm very happy to be here. I think this is a very good opportunity to learn from you guys that are in the already in the front of our profession, and I believe it will be a great experience for everybody, and I hope so. I will start sharing my screen here with our just a second. Can you guys see the presentation? Cool.
Yes, I can see.
Yes, it's okay.
Nice.
So I would like to preface this before we start, is to go into why this team in particular was selected and why we think teachers' identity is something that we should discuss. First of all, when we take into account our not only global but especially national context, because we are in Brazil. Hold 1 second. Welcome, Leonardo. We were just getting started. So, going back to that. One of the reasons we chose this topic is, well, taking into account our national context, because we are in fact in Brazil, there are many, many issues that just research with this topic. For example, we need to ask ourselves, who is the teacher in the classroom and why is it important that we have an identity? And one of the reasons that we came together as a group and came to this conclusion is you can't just be a tool. A teacher can't just be someone who is going to, you know, when we were talking about bank education, for example, we can't just be someone who is going to deposit that knowledge and is going to expect that by depositing it and just throwing it away, we're going to harvest results and that we're going to have better students and better citizens in the future. A teacher is a person, just like the student is a person. And as a person, you need to present yourself in a certain manner. I'm not saying that there is a correct manner or an incorrect manner, but you need to present yourself in a certain way. You need to assume an identity because you are someone. You're not just a tool or a cog in a machine. We're not interested in manufacturing students because students are not commodities. Students are people. And if we want to not develop, but encourage the growth of better people, we need to see and behave ourselves as people as well. That's why we chose this topic. That's the slide, Chug.
Just a second.
Mhm.
Wait a minute.
Hello, Nicola. Welcome. We just got started.
Hey, thank you. Sorry I'm
No,
late.
no problem. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm doing
Good.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hi
Hi.
there.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Just a bit busy.
Hey, sure. One second. I can get it here. Thiago, one second. Uh,
I'm almost getting here.
okay. I think I got it. It's fine. Oh, can you see my screen just fine? Oh,
Yes.
here. Here it is. Okay, sorry. Oh, so our first question is not only to as a lesson itself, but to all of you. Like, who do you think is a teacher in a classroom? Like, why? How do you present yourself? Because the reason we put these two questions together is because in psychology we commonly tend to see ourselves not only as ourselves, but the way we see ourselves is somehow in between how we actually are and a little of a way to an idealized version of ourselves, because as human beings in general, and I would love to believe that we're always striving to be a little bit better than we were before. I assume everyone thinks that way. You always want to improve. So who is this person? Who is the teacher, and how do you see yourself in it? Would anyone like to give an opinion?
May I answer?
Sure.
Okay. I see as, in the first place, as a friend of each one. Of course, if I'm a friend of each one, for me it's important to know each one in the sense of each one has his or her own differences. And these differences, they are very important to develop our class. It is.
It's interesting that you mentioned being a friend, Mahabhajan, because this also is something that we're going to talk about a little bit from now. So, as we said, not only we have an identity, but we also have a role. Not just one role, but we play multiple roles as teachers. Sometimes, as you mentioned, you are a friend. Sometimes they need something else. Sometimes you want to be something else. So it not brings that, but it leads to the next question, which is who would you like your students to see you as? Because as I said, our vision of ourselves is not just you. You also have a little bit of what you would like to be. So how would you like your students to see you? Sometimes you just want to see you want to be seen as a father figure, or maybe a counselor, or something that they can someone that they can rely on. And sometimes it's, of course, this is a little bit being a little bit general and talking generally, but sometimes, especially, I'm sure many of you have dealt with high school students. Sometimes, especially because they are at that age, they don't want a father. They don't want someone to tell them what to do. They want someone that can talk to them as equal. I'm sure you have to deal with that. I had to deal with it. Sometimes students came and talked to me, not like as a teacher, but someone that they could just tell things that they wanted to tell that they didn't want to share with friends. They didn't want to share with people on their family circle and stuff. So who do you who do you how would you like to be seen is also very important, because it plays a part into how you're going to behave and how you're going to present yourself in the classroom. Would you like to say something about that?
Okay, may I start? May I say something? Okay.
Sure.
I would like to be seen as someone who is there in the classroom, someone with a sense of competence, a sense of connectedness, and also a sense of commitment, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think these three aspects are, to me, they are key aspects to define a teacher's role in classroom, right? commitment, connectedness, and competence.
It's interesting that you mentioned competence and commitment because at least I think, and I'm sure you might agree, that the moment your students realize that you do not show any of those two qualities, they're not going to respect you.
Mhm.
And if they don't respect you, then then we have a greater problem in our hands because, well, I'm not saying that the teacher is a tyrant or something of the sorts, but you do have some authority. And if you're not respected, then how do you expect them to listen to your words that might be genuine, but they're just coming one way and go to another? Because again, they don't see that commitment, they don't see that competence. So why would I listen to you? You know, it's it
Yes.
it's interesting and it's quite difficult.
And
So,
this is important too, what we have just mentioned. When we think about classroom management, right?
mm-hmm,
Yes.
yeah, classroom management is definitely the expression when it comes to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's rough. So again, going back to what Bernadette just said and what I was about to say is, well, we have many roles when it comes to teaching, and I'm sure you all have ideas of what a role is, what a counselor is, and what a father is in the classroom, or maybe just an educator. Although I believe everyone is an educator to some extent. So we prepared the poll, which we would like you to vote on, where we put them some roles, not all of them, but some very popular roles that are commonly assumed by teachers. And we'd like you to vote so we could see what is your opinion about that. Well, I'm about to post it in the chat right now. But
I'd like to comment if there's room for.
yeah, sure, Nicole, go ahead, please.
I really agree. I think something that we need to build, like collectively, like in a dialogical relationship with the students, is respect.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something not just concerning English teaching, but all courses, subjects at school. I think something that a lot of schools are struggling with is the respect that the students have towards the teacher. And what I see, at least in my context, is that the students do not feel heard or acknowledged as not as equals because, like you said, we there's a we are the authority, but sometimes we we are in a we we put ourselves in a superior position in a way that's it's like we are silencing the students. They don't feel heard, and sometimes the students they have an aggressive behavior, and then there's conflict, like the teachers want to be heard, but the students, they don't feel heard, and they are aggressive because we are the adults of the relationship. Right, they are kids, they're still growing, they're still learning about, not about just the school stuff, but about life. And uh, I like to be seen as someone that is willing to talk to them, someone that is willing to hear what they say and understand what they're saying. Because, as I mean, something that is very crystallized in teaching formation, in teachers formation in Brazil, is the fact that we know everything, and that we everything that the student's going to tell us, we're going to have an answer, or we're going to have an interpretation, or we have to always validate what they're going to say. and that kind of takes us away from the place of a listener and only as a place of the speaker. So I really want the student to think that he can express what he express anything that he's uh, either if he's content or not content with what's going on.
Yeah, it's very. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very important this thing of listening to the student. Speaking as a teacher, but also as a student, because studying here, I pay attention on this on my professors here. I used to compare with my reality back in high school, which is very different. But yeah, when we are teenagers, we are in this, especially teenagers, we are in this phase when we start to think by ourselves. We want to have different ideas. We want to be creative, to think the school in a different way. And sometimes and we get at the school with this perspective of things are going wrong. Before we enter the high school, we kind of know things are going wrong because we hear this from everybody, from the society, from the TV. And when we get there, we kind of realize that there is nothing we can do and we just go with the flow, especially when the professors don't hear us. So speaking about this perspective, Nicola, speaking made me remember of my teachers and the ones who could hear us and the ones who couldn't. And yeah, this is very, very important.
They want to be seen as individuals. They want to be seen as um, like, look, I have an opinion. I am a person. Why are you underestimating me? Why are you seeing me as as inferior? And because of this position as the teacher, the authority, most times we have to make an effort to not put ourselves in that place. It kind of demands us a shift of perspective of our role as teachers. Are we like are we are we control freaks? Are we like trying to have control of everything? Do we need to have control of everything? Sometimes we just need to like I think that's it. We said everything.
no, I get what you mean. It's interesting. Now, I'm sorry, I kind of want to put you on the spot now, and not that's not only to you but to everybody because I think it's interesting that you mentioned the not only the question about authority, but the fact that students want to be heard and they sometimes want to be treated as equal. So you can't just use your authority as a shield because sometimes you can't just be, well, I am the teacher, therefore I'm right, because in well unfortunately it's something that we see every well not every day but quite often. And I how do you propose or how do you imagine that we have not only a classroom management how Marco Tullio suggested, but in authority management? So how do we do that? How do we keep our authority but also keep the students aware that hey, you are a person and I value your opinion just as I would anyone else. You see how that's quite the conundrum. It's difficult. Really difficult.
Yes, yes, and I think something that I think that is we have talked before in the previous meetings about BNCC, and something that I really like in BNCC is that the student has the right to he has learning rights. And I found that expression, that phrase is so beautiful, learning rights, because it's the first time that the student knowledge is taken into consideration, like officially. Because we often talk what the student needs to do, what needs to learn, right? In syllabus, curricula, In the academy, we do that. But what does the student think about what he learns? What does the student think about his learning process? What does he have to, he or she has to say about that? And I think most of the conflicts that go on uh, inside the schools.
You are without sound.
Yeah, I think she crashed. What a pity.
Her connection failed.
That's
Yes.
unfortunate. We lost Nicola for a second.
Yeah, probably
I
she's reconnecting.
Yeah. Mm. Uh, so one second.
Well, all of this that Nicola was saying, this relationship between the student and the teachers is an important thing because regardless the way things are in the classroom, the teacher is an important figure in the classroom. Hi, Nicola. Nicola, welcome back.
Yeah,
Um,
I had a bad connection here. I'm sorry. But
it's okay. You can go on with what you were saying.
I mean, where did I stop? Because I don't know when. Like, what was the last thing I said that you guys could hear?
Let me try to remember because I was continuing on
You
from.
kind
But
of
we can move
like
on.
the
It's
new the NCC. We are talking about the NCC.
mm, yes, about the rights, the learning rights, because sometimes we are too. I mean, we have very strong concerns about what, where the student needs, what should be the student's goals, but we sometimes take for granted what the student thinks or understands or how he feels about the learning process. That's what that's
All right. So we have prepared this poll. I'm gonna post it in chat right now. I'm also going to present it. Let's switch tabs. And before you vote, I would like to clarify some of the options that we put here. Here. The question is which role or roles better describe you as a teacher? And two things that I would like to clarify is that when we put mother here, is not necessarily a mother, but something akin to a motherly figure, you know, that is very uh, a heartwarming presence, that is going to be in their students' lives. And also, there is one particularity with counselor and therapist, which you might think that they are the same, but the reason we put them separately is because a counselor is someone who will offer counsel. The students reach to them because they want an opinion, they want a direction to be pointed at, or something to help them solve whatever problem is afflicting them. Whereas a therapist is someone he's going to he or she is going to listen to you. And sometimes students don't really want an opinion, they don't want to be pointed at. Sometimes they just want to be heard, they want to vent, they want to get whatever it is that is in their system out, and so that they can relax and not be as stressed as they were. And that's why we have them separately. So you're all free to vote. We're gonna give you some minutes. You can select multiple options. It's you can even select all the options that you can find. And we have here the option for other. If you think there is an option that should be here, there is not. We would love to hear it. So go for it. Hmm. Yep. I was fixing some things here.
I wonder if I did it right because I chose my options and then I clicked vote. And then the page refreshed and we there was like 0 votes for
I'm
all
just
the.
I'm just checking. It seems like we're having a technical difficulty here. It's not processing our votes. 1 second, please.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
So, unfortunately, I was just checking the down detector, which is a website to check which websites are having issues right now. And unfortunately, the website that we use is currently not functioning as it should. So, to circumvent that, we're just gonna open it to discussion. So, would anyone like to comment as to which role is the most important or the better suits them or that it should take it into account?
I'd like to say, Lucas.
Sure, Bernadette, go ahead.
Okay, so in my opinion, and the way I was as a teacher, because as you know now, I'm a retired teacher, but I keep on with private English classes. So, at all the years that I was in classroom, this was my behavior. Teacher comes together with an educator. It's not possible to separate teacher from an educator. And I behave this way. And another point, if I I am a teacher and an educator, when I say educator, it's important to talk to them about rules, about behaviors that are positive and those who are negative for each one lives. Another point, in my case, I was too a therapist because what I observed when a student was very aggressive, I thought maybe this student has problem at home with his or her family. So at the end of the class, I called him and I said, I would like to talk to you a little. Of course, uh, far from the other students. May we talk about? Oh, yes. So, okay. So we are going at our intervalo. We are going to the library of the school, and I would like to talk a little with you. So we went to the library, and I said to him, I noticed that you were very aggressive. Can you tell me if some problems are helping in your particular life? So I never will forget what he said. So he said to me, oh, teacher, my father went away. He separated from my mother, and I'm very, very sad. So inside my heart, I was not happy. So, of course, another days I keep on talking to him about this in order to help him. So that is my story, okay? And I don't know if sometimes saw what my school gave me as a present. Did you know about this? Yes or no? No. Okay, when I was retired, the school made a wonderful party for me with the students, and they gave me uma placa. May I show you this placa and what is written in it? Wait a minute, you bring
Sure.
my placa.
That's something.
Okay, this placa, I don't know how to say. Take a look. I will show you. I put it, yes, next to my bed. Every night I see this. I'm going to read for you what is written here. Pay attention. Prezada Bernadette. Oh my God. É, tá brilhando aqui, gente. Para muitas pessoas, você abriu portas, apontou caminhos e, e enriqueceu bagagens de não estou entendendo aqui, tá confuso aqui, de, de certas verdades e incentivou, incentivou coragem e, e, e maneiras de aprender. A trajetória de uma professora educadora por evidenciar-se na. Ai, ai, ai. Ai, gente, está refletindo e está tudo em dourado. Não estou entendendo o final. Porque a letra está dourada e a luz está batendo no dourado e está misturando tudo. Então, são, como é que é aqui? Companheiros de sua jornada da Escola Estadual Professor Caetano Azevedo. Depois eu vou digitar no grupo para vocês verem direitinho, mas é um orgulho muito grande. E claro que eu chorei bastante. Depois que eu me aposentei, a diretora, eu fui na sala e falei com a minha diretora que quando colocasse a nova professora, se ela autorizasse, eu podia acompanhá-la nas primeiras aulas dela para dar o rumo. Aí conversamos com a professora, ela falou que queria muito, então ela sentava-se no fundo da sala e a diretora falou quantos dias eu deveria ir para dar as aulas, porque eu tinha preocupação de unir as 4 habilidades de uma maneira alegre, em que eles participassem, principalmente na conversação, que eles gostavam demais dos diálogos de conversação. Então, eu fiz assim, fui ao Caetano Azeredo, dei alguns dias, ela no fundo da classe, depois eu me despedi, eles já haviam feito a festa para mim, e passados uns dias a diretora me telefonou pedindo para ir lá. Aí eu fui. Ela falou, Bernadette, estamos com um problema aqui. Olha, imagina, gente, precisamos que você vá na sala de cada um, porque eram 9 turmas do segundo grau. Eu começava com eles no primeiro ano e pedia à orientadora pedagógica para deixar acompanhá-los até o terceiro ano. E exatamente nesse processo de conhecimento. E aí, quando ela me contou, eu rio muito. Ela falou, Bernadette, ela entra na sala, eles saem, vão para o pátio, faz um coral e fala assim, queremos Bernadette, e não entra para a sala, está um problema. Aí eu fui na sala e dei o lance de professora educadora, e falei com eles que eu ia continuar, porque a diretora me autorizava a dar aula particular para aqueles que tinham muita dificuldade. Então, no final da aula, que acabava às 11h30, eu ia para a biblioteca e ficava até meio-dia com aqueles que queriam. Então, eu falei para eles que eu continuaria como professora particular deles, e as dificuldades eu continuaria ajudando a eles. Então, eu fui me desgarrando deles aos pouquinhos, né? Porque eu fiquei no Caetano Azeredo por volta de uns 15 anos, no Caetano Azeredo, no Barro Preto ali. Você sabe onde é, atrás do Fórum Lafayette. Então, isso me emocionou muito, sabe? Eu chorei muito quando recebi essa placa. E hoje eu não consigo ficar sem dar aula, não. Eu dou aula, meus alunos particulares, e fui à paróquia com o vigário e falei com ele que eu queria ser uma professora voluntária para adolescentes, adultos e terceira idade. E ele então me pediu que ficasse no final da missa, no sábado e domingo, para eu passar para todos que estavam na igreja essa minha atitude. E ele abriu inscrição, vocês não imaginam o tanto de aluno que eu tinha, idosos, adolescentes, e crianças na paróquia São Jorge, aqui no Jardim América. E aí a paróquia tem uma sala maravilhosa, tem som, então eu dava as aulas e veio a pandemia, aí o vigário falou, Bernadette, agora não mais. Mas eles quiseram continuar online, então eu dou para eles pelo Zoom. Então, gente, o que eu falo é verdadeiro. Eu tenho a vocação, a paixão e o amor por ser professora e educadora. Viram, amigos?
That's good. Yeah. Bernadette, if we look into the role of a mother as a teacher, I'm pretty sure we're gonna find your picture right there. I think that's fair to say.
So inspiring. Wow.
Yeah, it's really heartwarming. It's really
Yes.
really nice. It's we need more people like you. To be honest, we really do. We could use some. We could use like at least 50 Bernadettes in Belo Horizonte. Improve the city quite a bit. So, since we're going to watch a video next on more about the role of a teacher, I would like to I would like for us to switch links so that we'll have the proper time to go to the meeting. I will post our next link right now in our chat. We're gonna give everyone some time to switch, accommodate yourself, while I also have to set up the recording. Oh, sorry, that is the wrong one. The link is also on our WhatsApp group in case you want it, but it's right there in the chat. And we'll meet again in a few seconds.
So we should switch now.
Yes, please. You
Yes.
can click on the link and go there.
Briga com essa porta. Jesus. Que briga com essa porta.
Okay.
Just a second until everybody's here.
Okay.
There we go. I think we have everyone. Oh, by the way, all these meetings are going to be posted on YouTube. I will be posting this one tonight at the latest. So if you want to rewatch it, go through a certain point, or even just share with someone you know you think there's something that they should see, I'm gonna post a link in our WhatsApp group so you can pass it around. Okay. Up next, we have prepared a video, which is a short TED talk about what Professor John Colham is talking about roles that a teacher assume in his opinion. I say in his opinion because I think everyone has a different perspective or a perception of what a certain role is. Maybe the role of a father that I see is not the role of a father that you see, or a therapist or a counselor, and so on and so forth. So would like you to hear his thoughts, and would also like you to think about it in in a way that to see if you disagree with his perspective, if you disagree with his points, because after all, it is a TED talk. It's almost impossible to agree with everything. So, one second, I will post it right now. Oh, oh, sorry. There we go. Can you see it clearly?
Yes.
Good. Let's. Uh, let. Can we start? Okay,
Sure.
Yes.
let's go then.
Is there sound for everybody?
Can you not hear it?
I wasn't. I wasn't
Not yet.
hearing. Yeah.
If you couldn't, well, if you couldn't hear the video, then that's a problem. I might find another way to post it. So let's try again. Tell me if you can hear the video or not.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I'm not. I'm not hearing.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do something different. Mhm. So do this and just stop presenting. There we go. There we go. All right. Hope this works now.
Good.
Okay.
All of my faces are all sitting, so this is terrible capacity. I am here to redefine what it means to be a teacher. This is me before it all started at 4 years old. What I originally wanted to be, which most people makes perfect sense, is to be a PhD doctor. I thought for sure I would study in math and science and be this wonderful doctor that would help all these wonderful people.
juggling this. I might be dancing constantly, telling them a story about something that happened in my life. I might have to sing because the students are going to be faced with texts like Shakespeare. I just have to tell you, if you haven't read him for a long time, most of what he wrote, the words, the structures are made up. He made all of it up, which makes it very challenging for students to understand it. So it's my job to try to make it entertaining. That can be very, very hard. our goals. We had them, we had the chance to reach them. But now it's up to us to instill in our students the tools they need so they can achieve theirs. I'm going to just immortal words of Whitney Houston. Show them our future. Treat them well and let them lead the way. She's right. We have to instill in them. We have to be their champions. I may be fantastic. Wonderfully entertaining, but it's my job to instill in them the champion for them. I'm entertaining for my students. I go home and I don't say a word, I promise. Because my friend's actually going, that's not true. He never shuts up. Okay? But, last but not least, I am a teacher. I am here to constantly think about what's best for my students and the students at my school. It is what I have become. I'm not the 4-year-old boy with the chubby cheeks or the blonde hair. I'm not the 17-year-old stud. Guy brought up, that means I'm a stud. I'm a teacher, and I live this life. Every day, even during the summer, I am constantly teaching. I live it, and I love it.
Oh, oh well. Oh, sorry, Gabriel. I didn't see the message. Was it sound? Was it not able to discern what he was speaking about, or was it possible?
I couldn't understand it. Like
Mm,
some sentence they were easy because that's what we're expecting, but the whole thing I couldn't get it.
mm, okay.
Lucas, I think you're sharing it through your own sound box, right?
I
It
might have
works.
left my microphone open, but no, I was just. It was just the audio from the tab itself, but it might have had some interference.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe in the if you couldn't understand everything, I think in the few parts you could. I think you saw him talking a little bit about what you guys said before about these different roles, these many different roles that each teacher has to be in all the time, all the difference, and to identify the necessity and to go for it, right? As he said, in each moment of necessity of the students. And I wanted to hear from you, Lucas, you project the slides with the questions, but we have some questions for you guys about this. Can you share it, Lucas, please?
1 second.
Mhm.
I'm just setting it to full screen so that it doesn't pollute anything. There we go. So, first one here and here. Is that the slide I want to talk about, Thiago? Or is it the next one?
Yeah, yeah, sorry, this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, so, guys, we talked about all those roles, and um, we all, well, you guys all worked a lot before the pandemic and then during the pandemic. This was a topic we talked about in the last time we were together, and we kind of are always addressing this. We are returning to the normal life with a lot of different things. And we wanted to know how did you change as a teacher during the pandemic? How these things we talked about were affected by the pandemic and then remote situation, and all the problems, all the chart that the students had during it. How was this for you guys?
Well,
Sorry,
okay, I'm sorry. Can
can
go.
go, Marco
Okay,
Tulio. You
okay,
go first. You
just
go first.
okay. Thanks. Just a short comment. I really didn't teach during the pandemic, but I could perceive that most of the teachers had great problems concerning remote classes. Okay, how to deal with computers, you
Hmm.
know. And on the other hand, I think that some students or a lot of students had problems in terms of they didn't have a computer, okay, to study, okay, sometimes even a cell phone, talking about public schools. So that was the great problem, one of the greatest problems, okay.
Hmm. Gabriella, you were saying?
Yes, I could tell the same. As the students were not interacting with us, it was difficult for us to have a role on it, a role. But there was one student that I called him, and we were on the phone like for half an hour, and I did it twice so he could do his pets at home because he didn't have internet or a dictionary, so I helped him by through a phone call, you know. And there was other students that were talking to them through WhatsApp, but considering that we have like 300 students and 8 or 10 used to call us asking for something, I don't, I think this number doesn't actually count, you know?
Yeah, which is interesting because one question that I would like to ask, even since we cannot really go very deep into the video because the audio wasn't helping, is we all talked about roles, and I'm sure you all have your opinions on how do you see yourself or which role do you assume as a teacher. But how did that change? Because as you said it yourself, you had to call a student and make sure that he could perform his tasks so that he wouldn't fail a grade, especially in Brazil. I had this discussion the other day and I asked my entire class, when was the last time you participated in an online class and not a single person in your class had an issue related to computer, to internet, to family, to children? Like, and most people couldn't remember. I can't remember. You see, we're having one right now, and we had some issues here and there. It's infrastructure is is very big, and it plays a big part in it. So again, going back to your phone call and how you had to assume a different role, do you have any experience to share where you had to assume a role that you otherwise would not think of yourself just because of the pandemic? You had to adapt. Everyone had to adapt. But did you change? Did your perception as a teacher change throughout this period?
Yeah, I think that when we talk about soft skills, you know, um, skills that we all have to develop, and we start a class thinking that we need to teach them a language, but actually they need to learn stuff like how to organize themselves, how to plan their studies, and stuff like that. I see that today my role as a teacher um, go far beyond the language teaching.
Something I've really struggled with during the pandemic was the expectations everyone had of us teachers and everyone, like families and coordinators, supervisors, and schools. I was I have been teaching back then up to August last year in a bilingual program, a 10-hour a week bilingual program. And there was, I think, the whole problem with the remote learning was the expectations everyone had from 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 the students and from the processes. I was teaching 6 and 7 year olds, and the 6 and 7 year olds that had classes during the pandemic, they were still consolidating their literacy, their first literacy. So they still had writing issues, reading issues. I mean, I don't even think we can say they had issues because they were. I mean, that's just the stage they were in, right? They. I mean, they have the right to be in that stage, but there was this conception that the remote learning was just a transposition of the Insight classroom to uh, to a video call, and that's definitely not the case because I had a classroom with 26-year olds, and we had to teach them online. And those classes, we I mean, there were lots of absences, but there were days that I had like 18 or almost 20 students in online. And there were lots of demands. Uh, Teacher, I don't know how to turn on my camera. I have to show you my activity. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Is it like this? Is it like that? Oh, and 20 20 babies screaming at you at the same time. And there's also the pedagogical management, the concept, the expectations of most, right, the expectations of most uh, pedagogical coordinators, bilingual pedagogical coordinators, were that we weren't able to complete all the contents. And that was like my issue. I I I think the pandemic showed me that we have to be real about our contexts, about the contexts we're inserted in, the context in which we're teaching, and what competences the students need to achieve in that moment. Because how on earth am I going to work 10 pages online of a book if I need to show my student how to open a book, how to find a page, how to look for the number of the page, how he can understand the title of a question, right? And those are competences and adequate to 6 year olds because they're still consolidating their literacy, their first literacy, right? Because literacies are multiple literacies. Uh, so I think that the pandemic gave the opportunity to us to for us to be more humble, for us to be more humble as teachers. But unfortunately, in what my friends, my colleagues, in what I hear from my colleagues and friends, not everyone has taken this opportunity, this precious opportunity to rethink learning, to rethink um, learning goals, and I felt very frustrated about teaching during the pandemic because we were treated, and I feel like as teachers we were treated unfairly.
Yeah, it was a very big load all of a sudden. Um, and all the pressure was the teachers. Yeah. People could understand the difficulties that the students could have, the classes could have, and then the one responsible to fix everything was the teacher. And all the computer issues, that is just as one of the examples, was the teacher the one responsible to fix most of the times, right? So yeah, it was very difficult, and also for the students because they also had expectations. It was very different from them, and well, there was the whole uh, bad situation with the disease and all. They needed to be studying in the spirit and having to give too much to this to the classes to be there fully, and it wasn't easy to. What did you guys think that changed for the students? This question, like, how did your students change? The perspective, did anything change? Like how the students see the school, did it change? And how do you think it changed?
We have seen. I'm sorry. I don't know if anyone wants to have a say now, but it's something that's happening this week. That has happened this week and the week before, and the week before this year, and I I I feel the urge to talk about it and to think on what to do about it as a teacher. The students changed definitely. They're far more stressed, anxious, and depressed. And uh, and even ourselves, like as students in tertiary students, right? Not students in primary or secondary schools, but tertiary school too. We're far more depressed, anxious, and stressed. And I've seen many cases of students having to leave the classroom because they were having an anxiety attack. And there was, I don't know if you've seen in the news, but I think it was in Santa Catarina or in one of the south states. There was like a mass anxiety attack in a classroom. Like 20 students at the same time had an anxiety attack. And we know that media doesn't take that so seriously. So to the point that it became a headline, I kind of felt worried. We may question how anxiety is, what is anxiety and what's being treated, what's being called anxiety, but I felt very worried about that. And I've seen yesterday there was a student, she left the room crying. And what do we do? Are we therapists? How do we deal with an anxiety attack in front of us? Fortunately, I had the opportunity to 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 help because I I deal with anxiety myself, and I mean there's not much to do. You just have to lay low and stay away from crowds and do some breathing exercises and then just let it go away. But it's like the students had to grow in contingency. That's very difficult because when you have to grow, you have to experience, you have to see people, you have to talk, you have to express, and when you look around, you see death, you see limit all sorts of limitations, and that's just very frustrating. I think the students they were like restricted of so many things, and then they have to be back to school. They don't recognize that space anymore. They kind of lost the the feeling of what it is to be at school. And I think as teachers, it's been difficult to implement the same dynamics that they got used to because they were online, to activities that are more um, they're more dynamic, even in the sense of the active learning methodologies. um, Sometimes our schools, they don't have the resources that we they don't uh, they don't provide us with resources to, like, to present a screen or to use audio or to use music like we did. So they I think they changed because they don't recognize this space and they're forced to be in there. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
Because you're making total sense. I want to back up what you're saying, by the way. It's not your impression. Because I searched this just the other day to back up an argument that I've made. Depression and anxiety amongst Brazilian youngsters doubled. It didn't increase, it doubled during the pandemic. And just so you have a perspective of how awful it is, depression and anxiety have been going up quite steadily. But from 2013 to 2019, the increase was by 34% in total. And just in the pandemic, it doubled. So no, it's not your impression. You're totally right to think that. It's just reality.
it's very sad. We feel helpless. Like, what do we do? Do we make a project, like involving the entire school, or how should we change our practices? I think that the a very content based, I think the students are frustrated about that, to very content based teaching practices and thus learning practices, because there's the urge, like, when I feel like, not just as teachers and students but as human beings, when we don't have the opportunity to fully to fully realize ourselves, we don't have the opportunity to fully realize ourselves, we get anxious, we feel trimmed, let's say.
Helpless, you know?
We feel
Right.
trimmed. Yes, we feel right. And there's so much we need to know, so much we need to listen, so much we need to absorb. But where's the time to talk, to socialize, to right? The other, I mean, even Gabriela talked about the social skills. I think maybe that this is the time to be more into that and to bring that not just to English but all teachers of all. This is more like a not just an English teaching problem but an educational problem.
No, totally right. Say maybe a fundamentals problem, perhaps. We might need to be able to we might need to rethink the whole system, which was an argument that I've heard. That we had a great opportunity to rethink how we do education during the pandemic, and unfortunately we didn't. We just dealt with it, and now we're back, and the grades for an N are dropping by almost 100 points on average. So you know, damn, a situation.
It's like they it's like they're saying, I feel like they're saying we need more than this, or we need something else, right? This is not work. I mean, I think these are symptoms. The way it's been done, this is not working.
May I ask you a question, Nicola, just to, I'd like
Sure.
to, okay, or the other teachers too. I'd like to know how the technology inequality impact your work as a teacher during the pandemic, because this inequality was, to my mind, it was wide open, right? Mainly talking about public schools. Did you have this problem at a great extent?
I was teaching at a private school, and it was a private school at Belvedere. So, like, we had people from Belvedere and Nova Lima, and everyone had their phone or a tablet or a computer and good access to internet connection. And even the very fact that I had 18 kids online with me, right? Even it even tells like what's the profile, what's the social economical profile of the students. So, and even so, there were like um un- unproportionate, let's say, expectations about the learning that had to take place at that moment. But when we think about the other profiles, when we think about the state schools or even the city schools, there was basically no teaching at all. I mean, not that the teachers were not working. No, absolutely not. I mean, we have all struggled, right, in public and private schools. But from the point of view of the students, what I listen to from like almost 100% of the students is that we we haven't had classes for 2 years. That's what they say. So there's like a very the right. It's right in front of us. Like it's very easy to see the inequality, right? I mean, it reinforced a lot of inequalities. And at the school, and now I am at the state schools. I was teaching in private schools. Now I'm no longer teaching in any private schools, and I hope I never get to teach at the private schools again. Uh, but that's subject for another day. Uh, but what what we I'm trying like to what I feel like it's been a common point with me and the other teachers is how can we see where the students are in terms of what they have accomplished during their academic road, let's say, and where do we want them to go? What do we need? How do we mitigate? How can we mitigate the gap, right, from these 2 years? If anyone else has something to say, right, uh, I mean, does anyone also had the is teaching at the state schools now? Like that's something like,
Nicola, what
hey,
what I listened to you saying about the emotional problems among the students that you told us now, you heard on news. So, another news that it is very, very sad what I listened to. Yes. many students, they are abandoning, yes, school. And as life is very hard, they are going to work, so they are abandoning the schools. Oh my God. I listened to it on news.
School is not making any sense because they're 2 years away from the school. It's not rewarding in any way. And
Uh-huh.
then they are back, and the teachers seem they it's visible that, like, in some way no one knows what to do. Like in my classes, I have, like, in the attendance list, I have like 35, 37 students, but the only ones that really attend the classes are like 15, 20.
Oh, very little. Yeah.
Yes.
And is your school private?
No, I am in the state school.
Ah, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
here in Lindeia, it's where I live.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Do you guys know Lindeia?
I don't know.
It's close to Barreiro, close to the Riacho
Ah, okay.
region of Contagem. It's the city limits between Contagem and Belo Horizonte.
Because
Uh,
you said about Belvedere, so I thought your school is a private one because you said that is Belvedere. So it's not
hmm
this, yes?
No, I taught there to up until August last year.
Ah, okay.
I
Okay.
spent like 2020, 2020, yeah, the whole year from February to December. Then I stayed there until August last year.
So in Belvedere, was it a private one or not?
Yes,
A
it
private
was
one.
it was even an elite school,
Ah,
actually.
yes, I imagine.
It was an elite school, and the project of the pedagogical project of the bilingual program that I was teaching there was a very I have a lot of criticisms a lot of criticism towards it because it works with the conception that of language as territory, a language that belongs to a group, a language that is not universal. You have to sound like an American. They have this kind of beliefs, and they had too many classes for the kids. They had like 10 classes a week. It was too exhausting for all of them, and I learned a lot. Right? It was not a totally bad experience, but I think we there's a lot we have to talk about these bilingual programs. I But now I am at the state schools, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. There, I mean, the challenges are much different, right?
Yeah,
But I am enjoying it a lot more because we are able to be more formative,
yes.
right? And we have our we have our social role as a teacher is always present there when you are at the public school.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
not just you're not just following a program and working for a company, because the private schools, unfortunately, they're companies, right?
And what did you observe when you were teaching at a private school in Belvedere, talking about the emotional side of your students?
Oh, I'm sorry. The emotional side.
Yeah, of your students of the private
Mhm.
school in Belvedere.
They were very. They had a lot of anguish because uh, just so you guys can understand, when, like in the first week of March, because in 2020, like the very beginning of the pandemic, we had February. February, we were at the schools, right? Because the virus had not officially arrived in Brazil. So February, we were at school. But we had an alert. Oh, guy, I think Lena, Lena is telling us that we should switch, right, Lena?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt the discussion. That's why I was writing in the chat. Just because you are there in this discussion, so I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
It's all
Uh,
right.
it's just because as we have our time, so you guys are enthusiastic about this conversation. It's not a problem. Okay, I'll just go there because I don't know if anybody else is coming. So I'll go there and just be there. Okay, so you guys take your time, finish your conversation, and I'll be there waiting for you. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, okay.
see you there, guys.
See
Bye bye.
ya.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
But their anguish was like, I mean, one of my students, she had to be away because she traveled to Europe.
Okay.
She was in Europe, and
Uh-huh.
then she came back to Brazil, and her family thought she was infected, so she couldn't attend the school. So that's the profile of students I had. And their anguish was like more about being restricted, right? Being to be shut, right, to their homes, to their rooms. And most of them had parents at work, and they had like nannies who didn't know how to use the computers or the tools like Google Meet. They didn't know how to help the kids, so the
You
kids got
mean you
very
mean sorry,
stressed.
shut in their castles.
Yes, that was exactly what happened. But I feel when we compare to the students from the public schools, it was much worse because they had to deal with that kind of anxiety and also the inequality, right? They did not have classes, any kind of classes. And my issue there, at least at this school that I had been working, was that what do you
Olá, Lena.